Welcome back to the channel, guys. In this one, we're going to be trying to do a little patchwork on a skid steer bucket. So it's finally time to do a little heating and a beating on our old bucket here. The more I look at this thing, the worse it looks. But that's okay, because we got plenty of welding rod, plenty of electricity. We're going to weld it up. I'll show you a little bit up close of what exactly we got going on. I think what I'm going to try and tackle first is things like this crack here. Let's see, it kind of almost has a little run right here, and it almost keeps following this kind of reinforcement, I guess, where they've welded this cutting edge to this plate material, and then there's supports underneath. But then we get into this big crack kind of running all the way there. I think it pretty much stops right here, but I think first I'm going to try and tackle this, because this might determine if I even fool with those holes in the corner. This stuff is all bubbly and flaky and ugh. We'll do what we can with it. My extension cord ran into the barn room right there and got me a few tools laid out. We'll get to grinding this thing, prepping it up to do a little welding. Alright, got the grinding wheel on. Got me some earplugs in. See what it'll do. I think I might hit it with the wire wheel first, actually. Whoa. Safety does take a day off. So I think best case for some of these cracks here would be to chase them with a cutting wheel, right where it looks like they want to keep running, to try and stop that from continuing. But this bucket is in pretty pitiful condition anyway, so I don't even think I'm going to spend the time and effort doing that. I think I'm going to just start throwing down some welding rod on this thing. Yep, room's a mess. My apologies. Okay, I think we might try, well, we'll try 105. Clean the spot off for the ground. So what I'm going to use on this thing is just some old 6011 rods, electrodes, whatever they are. I have some welding gloves somewhere. Of course, we just moved, so I have no idea where they are. We'll get a few of these out. Oh, now I will need my actual welding hood. Hold on. So as you see here, I have this Premier Chicago Electric Harbor Freight Special, guaranteed to make your eyes last till you're 80. Yeah, right. Alright, I'm actually going to take my hat off with the mic for this one just because I don't want it falling off while we're welding. It blows holes right through it. Dial her back. So dial it down to 75. Let's see if that's any better. Probably not. This stuff is mighty thin. Dial it down a little more. Really too hot in the beginning, but even dialing it way down to 60 amps, I'm still just blowing right through this thin stuff. So I think I am going to try it. Looks like this might be sitting on some type of little cross member here. I might try and see what I can do in this area. Beautiful welds. Not. Man, I'm just blowing right through this stuff. Need to quit while I'm ahead. Not panning out. Maybe what I need to do is just go ahead and get some gas for my MIG gun. Then I could weld thin stuff like this. You might could weld thin stuff with a little stick welder like that, but I can't. Well, that bucket's a lot thinner material than I thought it was. I'm not real good at welding thin stuff with a stick machine like that. I've welded real thin stuff like chewed, ate up, rusted out muffler pipe and filled holes up like that before with a little MIG gun, but not a stick rig. So might have to punt on this one till I can get me some gas or borrow a bottle from my dad or something like that. So we'll see. Little change of setup. I pulled out the old Harbor Freight titanium unlimited 200. I got it set up with a MIG. I've got some 0.35 solid wire, and I went and borrowed a bottle of 100% CO2 from my dad. He was so kind enough to let me use that. So we got everything strung out the window. So let's kick this thing on. I have it running to a 125 right now just because I can't reach my 220 outlet over there. So let's get this thing fired up, see where the settings are at. This is the first time I've used the MIG setting. Let's see, 125 wire speed, 16 volts. Let's dial that down a smidge. And capacitance or inductance. That's right per the chart. I really don't know what that does. Maybe we'll figure that out sometime. So slide this thing a little bit closer. See how it performs. So I apologize, but I did run it for just a moment without hitting record. So at least I got a little bit of practice before I look like an idiot on camera. So, and all I'm gonna try and do is try and just start filling these holes in, because I can control this MIG gun a lot better than I can the stick. Sure, it's just a me problem, but that's the case. So this seems to already be doing a lot better, so let's get to it. Might need to turn up my voltage just a fuzz. Dial it up to 15.4 volts. See if we can get it just a little hotter. Definitely doing better than the stick, for me anyways. Big gaps too. This is probably not what you're supposed to do with a welding machine. Fill gaps this large, but we'll give it a try anyways, just see if we can. Awfully windy out here, kind of blowing our CO2 out of the way. Have to wait for the breezes to stop. Well, we were definitely able to fill that gap. Did a little better than I thought it would. So unfortunately, for the remainder of this video, I've lost my audio. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Probably user error. Probably more like 100% user error. I'll ensure that doesn't happen again. But I'm just going to continue on to finish welding up these cracks and holes. So I'll be honest, from start to finish of this video, I kind of lost interest in really putting forth 100% effort into saving this bucket or bringing it around back to 100% type condition. I kind of decided I would rather hunt down a heavier duty bucket, maybe one a little bit wider as well, maybe at least the width of the machine itself, maybe one with replaceable cutting edge. I think that'll last a lot longer. This one's really thin in a ton of places, and I really just don't think it's worth the time and effort what it would take to bring it around to something I'd be proud of. But it was a good time to test out this welding machine. This was the first time I've really used it, and it did fantastic. It was quite easy to use. The chart on the inside of the machine for setup was pretty accurate. Made decent welds. It's more my fault if any of them were bad than the welding machines. But we'll see long term how it holds up. It is a Harbor Freight, the Titanium Unlimited 200. But so far, I would really recommend it. Here's the result of what we got. Quite ugly, but I promise they're fairly strong. It's a lot better than having the cracks and holes in there, I promise you that. So I spent a little time with the grinder, flattening it out. It really doesn't matter, but I just can't stand seeing those big ridges right there. This will blend in when you get some dirt in there, and you'll never even be able to tell. So now that the welding part is complete, I'm going to turn my attention to the step here on top to get into the machine. It's quite bent up, so we're going to get the torch out and some hammers and see what we can do about that. So as I'm getting the torch all laid out and set up, I turn around to find our friendly neighborhood red wasp flying around. Just took care of him. So after taking care of the wasp and getting our bottles turned on, we'll fire the torch up, get her dialed in, start warming this metal up. All I'm using here is a 1/0 cutting tip. Probably the more preferable tip for the end of a torch when doing something like this would be a rosebud. Throw a lot more heat faster, but this is what I had, so that's what we're using. All I'm going to use during this whole time to try and bend this step out is a little sledgehammer, machinist hammer, a punch, a pry bar, and then a big crescent wrench was actually probably the best tool for this, to grab onto that bar stock and bend it around and hold it and hammer on it and try and straighten it out. So we're nearing the end of the video. Here I am just finishing up bending this last rung, or straightening this last rung of this step. This video took me a while to get out because I was having to do all this work in basically 1 hour increments after I got home from work, from my actual job. I'm working a lot right now, so that's what the problem was in getting a video out in a timely fashion. Hopefully that will clear up soon. Well, folks, if you stuck around this far, I greatly appreciate it. Once again, I would like to apologize one more time for the audio. That irritates me just as much as it does you. But we got some good things coming, so please like and subscribe. And don't forget to stop back by and see what we're working on next time. I appreciate it. Y'all have a blessed day.